So folks, as you know, Mercury is retrograde in Aquarius and went retrograde on January the 30th and will remain retrograde till February the 21st. And after February the 21st, it goes direct and leaves Aquarius on March the 15th. And indeed, currently, we've got Venus, the Sun, Saturn, Jupiter, and Mercury all in Aquarius. On February 11th, we're going to have a new moon in Aquarius, so we will have the new moon there as well. But by March the 13th, 14th, 15th, by the time Mercury gets ready to leave, we're going to be left with Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius, because by that time Venus will have moved on and the Sun will have moved on. So it's sort of Aquarius central right now, with the Venus in retrograde, with the Venus in Aquarius as of February the 1st and Mercury retrograde January the 30th or thereabouts. And this concentration of energy, as I've mentioned in my past couple of videos, is notable because the sign of Aquarius all of a sudden has gained importance not only for the next 20 years, because that's where the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction took place on December 21st, 2020, also for the next 2 years, because Jupiter and Saturn are both in Aquarius this year, and then Saturn remains in Aquarius next year, 2022, but also then for the next month and a half, till March the 15th. While we've got this focus on personal planets and the new moon in Aquarius as well. Aquarius collectively as a sign stands for what I will call social progress. I'm just gonna leave it at that. This Mercury retrograde, keeping in mind that the days around the 30th of January and February the 21st will, and indeed this period, but especially those days, might really distill a certain amount of Mercury retrograde energy, dealing with past issues, confusion, travel, transactional, communication, commuting, snafus, being late, technology breaking down, confusion, etc. Most notably, because Mercury is now moving into the air signs, there's going to be a marked difference. This is always the case, but there's going to be a marked difference between processing time and reaction time. We are going to react and respond and want to continue to move forward in what I will call normal time, Mercury direct time. But our minds are going to be able to process only in Mercury retrograde time. And there is a need, with Venus in Aquarius, choices, opportunities, financial, relationship, creative are going to be brought to us. And with all these planets in Aquarius, and keep in mind that at the very least, Venus is going to conjunct Saturn, then Jupiter, then the Sun, then Mercury before it moves forward. Mercury, as it's retrograde, is going to conjunct the Sun on February the 8th, then Jupiter, and then when it goes direct, it's going to conjunct, the Venus during that time. It's just, during the month of February, and to some extent early March, Venus, the planet of opportunities and luck, is going to want to move things forward in the sign of Aquarius. And Mercury retrograde is going to say, no, not yet. There is a processing period, a discussion period. There's a need to take things slowly. There's a need to take stock of things. There's a need to catch up to things. There's a need to really look and pay attention to things. So this difference between reaction or action time and processing time is going to become very apparent. People may not respond as quickly as they normally do. Things don't move forward as quickly as they normally do. There are these weird snafus between people in terms of communication not being straightforward. People don't show up the way they need to sometimes. There is a need to kind of be on the boat and, as cheesy as it sounds, let the river run. Do not rush outcomes at this point in time. Do not rush them. From an overall on a personal perspective, for those of you who know where Aquarius sits in your chart, what house it occupies, and what topics that house covers, you are feeling this. You are feeling the urgency, you're feeling the ants in your pants, and you're recognizing options. But at the same time, you would be frustrated by the lack of resolution and the lack of clarity. So if I know and I have choices and options with regard to how to proceed on a particular topic, but nothing is falling into place, things are going on and happening slower than normal, things are still a little murky and not a little clear, or clarity comes, but it doesn't resolve. Trust that part of the process, because you don't want to put pen to paper and you don't want to sign a contract till after the 21st, 22nd, 23rd anyway. I would say 23rd to 25th. You want to make up your mind, you want to make all your decisions. Try to see if you can make any decisions between the 23rd and 25th of February, and in detail about March 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th. You are fine. You are fine. Okay, so there's going to be a real need to juggle and not let the ants in our pants get the better of us as we go through the spin cycle. As I've described this energy before, mid-November to the end of January, lots of forward movement, lots of planets moving forward, with the exception of Uranus, which also ultimately went direct. And very much in keeping with the theme of this year, we're going to have these waves of forward movement and then Mercury retrograde. Waves of forward movement and then Mercury retrograde. Mars and Venus are not going retrograde this year. Venus goes retrograde at the very end of this year, very end, practically next year for all intents and purposes. And so that's the way things are going to be. Now, are we going to move a little bit backwards and have to reconsider things when Jupiter goes retrograde during the summer? Yes, as we do every year, we will. But that's something we deal with every year. It's not quite as stagnant as some portions of 2020. And if I were to think about this, in a different way, if I were to think about this, how do I want to put this? If I want to think about this in more collective terms, sorry for the little bit of a blip there. I was trying to find, I think I've given this example before. It's a little bit like the Biden administration or any administration coming into an office, having certain expectations, having made certain promises, and during this Mercury retrograde having to take stock of things. What does this mean? Where is this at? Do we have enough? What is this gonna, what? And so if you, as I mentioned to you in my last couple of videos, if you have a plan, the best way to use this time is to go back and re-look at that plan and try to make sense of things. Try to see what holds. Try to see, don't even try to see anything. Let it emerge and take stock of where things are at. There's a difference between, here's why I'm having these dramatic pauses and I'm trying to process what I feel like I'm getting. There's a difference between the dream of something or the fantasy of something and the reality of something. For some of us, this is really going to apply. And we don't have to be disappointed by the reality of anything. We don't have to be, this is not the time for the emotional Mercury retrogrades that we've had over the past 2 or 3 years are now behind us. This is a mental retrograde. This is information. This is data. This is facts. This is decision making. And so let the facts emerge till February the 21st. Let the fantasy collapse into reality. It is a helpful and necessary process. So let that happen. Be careful of making promises, because after the 21st and into March, you may find that you feel differently about certain things. Go through the spin cycle, look at the options, have the conversations, explore, revisit, welcome resolutions to past matters, allow for confusion, allow for the dissonance between action and reaction time and processing time. If you can actually be wise enough to slow down your action and reaction time so that you can catch up to what this is going to look or feel like is you're going to send an email, and then after sending the email, you're going to start doing something else. You're going to go for a walk, and then you'll be like, oh, this is how I should have handled this. And I'm not talking about massively dramatic things. There's just you're going to act or react, and then you're going to be like, oh, if I had just slowed this down, if I had just waited, if I had just let my mind really process what is happening and let it catch up to where things are at and what is presenting itself, I could have sent one email instead of now having to send 3 and apologizing and whatever. Okay, so this is a necessary catch-up thematically, if you're interested socially and politically, very much linked up to the social good and how to implement policy, how to create progress. So for those people who are responsible for that and looking into that, we leave them to their workings and their machinations. For us, the way we're going to feel it personally is that Aquarius sits in some part of your chart, occupies a certain house. All of a sudden, this part of the chart is now lit up as of early 2021. Lit up after not having been lit up at all. And there's an urgency to get things done in this part of the chart because it affects overall liberation wherever the sign of Taurus is. So the pressure is on to get the Aquarius sign secured. The pressure is on to get the Aquarius sign part of your chart sort of battened down. But the battening down process, because Jupiter's here all of this year and Saturn is here for 2 years, is going to continue for a couple of years. You're not going to be done with the Aquarius part of the chart for at least a couple of years. And it's a primary or important theme for the next 20 years. I'm not saying wait 20 years to make up your mind. I'm just saying there are phases of decision making. And with Saturn here, there are lessons to be learned. The biggest thing I will actually leave you with, honestly, is to really pay attention to decision making in wherever the sign of Aquarius is, and to try not to make mistakes. And you will know, because Saturn will raise red flags and say, are you sure? Is this what you want to do? Are you going to sign on this? Are you going to agree to this? Is this where you're going to end up? Is this what you're going to take on? Because I'm already sending you an instinctive red flag to say something here is going to need to be adjusted, and this isn't completely right for you. This isn't completely right for the fullest expression of your potential. So are you acting against yourself? Are you in a bit of a rush? Is this the best? Are there lessons still need to be learned with regard to patterns and boundaries that are no longer serving you and that have been in place for a long time? Saturn's sole purpose, unless Saturn is there to dish out karma for some reason. Are there lessons that need to be learned? And could ya try to incorporate those lessons right off the bat during this Mercury retrograde period? And think about how you want to proceed step by step in a way that is truly aligned and mature and represents your best self in a way that you're honoring and respecting yourself and your potential. Responsibility for yourself, discipline, not fantasy, not dreams, not even goals, but the turning of all of that into reality, into the actual climbing of the mountain. So the question becomes, who or what needs to be incorporated in the Aquarius part of your chart to allow you to climb that mountain? There's every chance and possibility that at this stage of the game, you will do something, and over the next 2 years, Saturn will teach you lessons about it. So if you already have a sense that you're about to do something and there's an internal red flag, but it seems about right, it seems even fate, I would just say, think about it, because the lessons will show up. They could show up later this year. They could show up next year. You're certainly going to need to be. You're going to be asked to incorporate some lessons in this part of the chart by the end of 2022. So why not, if you can, start to think about what you want to do in this part of the chart and then take it from there, step by step. The best way to avoid any problems or challenges is to not jump on making decisions or signing anything until after the 21st right now. The best way to avail of the energy is to enjoy the idea that there might be choices and options and things to think about, and a certain amount of bounty and a certain amount of positivity and financial opportunities, perhaps relationship opportunities, opportunities related to where Aquarius sits. But being comfortable to sit in the murkiness and to sit in the lack of decision making and to sit on the boat and not want to rush the process or rush a conclusion. And be prepared that if you are giving people a certain impression right now, or they're giving you a certain impression right now, that impression may need to change after February the 21st. If it feels right to change things after February the 21st, based on your knowledge and understanding, be open to doing so. Otherwise, you run the risk of signing something based on what you know now and commitments you're making now, even after the 21st, even March the 12th, without incorporating what Mercury going direct between February 21st and March the 15th is going to help you gain, or the clarity that it's going to help you gain. So it's difficult, it's difficult to get to this point and not feel like, let's go. Come on, universe, deliver. I'm ready. Be ready. Look at the options. Relax. Trust the process. Sift through everything. Try not to make promises. Try to keep your options open. Slow and steady. Now, if you have Mercury retrograde in your birth chart, then hey, during this period, your processing time and your action and reaction time may actually be in sync. You may actually feel like clarity, progress, and that there's a certain amount of comfort even around decision making. I'm going to let you figure that out. The general guidance during Mercury retrograde, of course, is even if you have Mercury retrograde in your chart, it might be that people that you are interacting with have Mercury direct in there, so they're dealing with a certain amount of Mercury retrogradeness. Okay? So that is what I wanted to convey to you right now. Most of all, what I wanted to convey is, try to manage your own anxiety and your own fire and your own desire for progress. And you're going to be fighting your own desire to quickly reach a decision and close on things. You know how in sales they say, close on the deal, close on this, always be closing. Not right now. Enjoy. Go to the farmer's market, look at all the fruits and vegetables, look at all the prices, look at everything that is available. Think about what you want to do. Be very careful and cautious about decision making. Try to avoid making decisions that are going to give you lessons over the next 2 years. This is going to be very difficult because those lessons are going to show up no matter what. There are patterns and behaviors where Aquarius is in your chart that Saturn is going to want to root out. Unavoidable, but see if you can get with the program and take a very meticulous, grounded, disciplined, real, non-fantastical, non-luck dependent approach to how you want to move forward and how you want to deal with making choices and decisions in a part of your chart that are absolutely necessary because they're going to contribute to your overall growth, awakening, liberation in another part of your chart, Taurus, over the next 5 years. So just trust the process, trust the timeline over the next month and a half, over the next 2 years, and you will be surprised by the end of 2022 where you find yourself, wherever it is that Aquarius sits. Now, if you have been naughty and done terrible things, then Saturn is going to be in a karmic frame of mind and is going to want to deliver results. And there, I'm sorry that you're going to be dealing with that stuff. Again, there are lessons to be learned there, and Saturn is about teaching us lessons. Okay, I am going to do a follow-up video after this on Venus in Aquarius. That's going to be my next video. And I just want to say that Venus conjuncts Saturn on February 6th. So part of what is creating this pressure right now is that the need to take relationship, financial, and for some people creative opportunities very, very seriously. There's a feeling of seriousness. There's a feeling of like wanting to move on things and want to. It's just part of the process. And hey, new moon February 11th, still while Mercury is retrograde, Venus conjuncts Jupiter just before the full new moon on February 11th. And that is one of these transits that we astrologers wait for. So just trust the process. Okay? Just trust the process. Sit on the boat, take in the scenery, talk to the animals, talk to anyone and everyone, take up any opportunity, knock on every door, open every knock, answer every person, talk, think, say, hey, let's talk, let's think, let's plan, well, but just allow me to get back to you and make a final decision after February the 21st. Whatever that looks like to you, however you can convey that in a way that it doesn't hurt you as best as possible. For some of you, you're going to have to sign contracts. So just look at them 3 or 4 times and just be sure that you're clear about what you're doing. Pay attention to the details. Ask the questions. If you like this video, found it useful, share it, like it, subscribe to my YouTube channel, click on the bell icon next to the subscribe button so that you can be notified whenever I do new videos. My contact information is in the subject area of the chart. Description box below the video. It'll be there after I'm done processing the video, so you can reach out to me and inquire about rates for readings or rates around me making an easy to read version of your chart that tells you which signs are in which houses and what those houses stand for. Do not send me your personal information like birth time, birth date, birth location until you get my rates and know you want to work with me. All right? Onward. Take it easy. Bring down the anxiety a few notches. You will see, you will experience this catch-up between action and reaction time and processing time. And once you go through this 2 or 3 times this week, try to get into this rhythm of not pushing the river, because you don't want to push or create anxiety so that people push to a conclusion that is not in your best interests. More to follow. Thanks.